All right, here we go. Today we have Jonathan Jacob Meijer, who is the subject of the Netflix documentary, The Man with 1,000 Kids, who is rumored to have as many as 1,000 children. Jonathan chose not to be part of the Netflix documentary. This will be his first in-depth sit-down interview. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Thank you. Really appreciate that you invite me. I'm super happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we actually flew you out from the Netherlands, and you actually had some problems at the airport.
Yeah. I was set like 2 hours at the border security. Well, can I explain? Yeah. Well, I asked to only have my flight covered and the hotel, and that was somehow suspicious. But they couldn't believe that I will be on Vlad TV. So the security guy, he was like, Vlad TV, why are you there? I said, yeah, there's a documentary on Netflix now with about me. And he was like, oh, I heard about it, but I didn't know it was you. That was like,
well, right, because when you and I first started communicating, you said you didn't want to get paid for the interview because you didn't want to make money off your children, and you just asked for airfare and a little bit of food money and the hotel and so forth. Which we agreed to. Yeah.
So it was, in all fairness, it's great to be in LA, and it's for me it's a chance also to share my side. That's the most important. And I'm not an actor or anybody, an artist, or so. I don't need a fee for being here.
Okay, so this is your first interview ever. So I want to go ahead and get the whole story. So you were born in 1981. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in the city of The Hague. It's the fourth largest city of the Netherlands, located at the beach. So we have this laid back, like California feeling. We are very laid back, friendly, lots of humor. It's a great city to grow up in that regard.
Okay, and you grew up with both your parents?
Yeah, both my parents and my 7 siblings. 6 sisters and 1 younger brother.
Well, I remember the documentary, one of the women said that because you had such a big family, that she felt like you didn't possibly get enough attention or something like that. Is there any truth in that?
No. I can say with I think so many times back at my youth, like, oh, I had the best youth, and I think everybody that has a good youth will think this, like, my youth was just the best, and that my parents they did. I cannot express how much they did for us. My father's an artist. He wasn't really making a lot of money. He was also a blue collar worker, part time to make ends meet for the family. My mom was a stay at home mother. They give more than I can ever imagine. It's the wonderful time and about getting attention. I was more like taking time off in my room because I was the only one with my own room because I couldn't share with my sisters at a certain age. And if I wanted to have, there was plenty more than enough attention. And my sisters cared for me, and we're always laughing, and absolutely the best upbringing I can imagine.
Okay, and all 8 kids came from the same parents?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, your parents were busy.
Yeah, it was actually a very conscious decision of them, and it's interesting that also when I was young, I know the fertility taboos or the infertility taboos, sort of say. I remember that people came to us like in my school and like, oh, are your parents having these kids because it's like the church rule, or is it like they don't know how the pill works or something? I say, no, we're just here because they really wanted to have a big family. We're very wanted, and okay, but you run into these sort of like backwards ideas, or like people have like sort of these instant reactions when they hear, that you're from a big family.
Okay, and as a kid, were you a relatively good kid, or did you ever get in trouble, get arrested, that type of thing?
No, I've never been arrested. But I must say, I was a guy. I liked some vandalism once in a while, like making a fire, or just like once we found like these dolls, like there was a pile of trash, and we found these big like dog-like creatures, and they were like dolls. And I was the one that said, "Hey, let's put it on the road, like, see if the cars would stop." And they would like stop and see like this dog supposedly. They were like getting out of the car, and we were like in the bushes, like laughing. And I was kind of like this a bit, how do you call it? Like naughty boy.
Okay, but never to the point of getting arrested or...
No, I've my criminal record is blank. Yeah.
Okay, so you go through high school and then you go to college.
Yeah.
Okay, what college did you go to?
It's like you mean like a city or?
Well, what was the name of the college?
Oh, okay. It's called Hogeschool Rotterdam. It means like the High School of Rotterdam, literally, if you translate. So it means College of Rotterdam. And there I studied for becoming a social studies teacher, philosophy, social studies teacher.
Okay, so why'd you want to become a teacher at that point?
Well, I tried 1 year before to do like marketing, because it was just like, okay, I want to do something like, that's very like it's a good salary, and I had this idea. But I found out that no, I want to work with people, and I had a very nice time in high school. It was the best time I had in school. It was really a great school as well. Like, it was good people, very kind, and I wanted to sort of stay in that atmosphere. I was like, why shouldn't I stay in this this setting? Also, like, you have school, and then you have like 6 or 8 weeks like holiday. Like, that's something you cannot get in a regular job. Like, so much freedom. So always this sort of freedom was like attractive to me.
Well, I remember in some of your YouTube videos, you tried different looks. Like, you had your hair short at one point, you had your hair slicked back and everything. And ultimately, you decided to do the long hair. Was there a reason for the long hair?
I think that's I was, when I was 14, it was like in the grunge era, sort of. Soundgarden was one of these bands that I'm really into, and I was like, I don't know, maybe like late 20s, early 30s, and then I had suddenly like a sort nostalgia to throwback to this time, and I rediscovered more of Soundgarden's music, and I really loved the area where Chris Cornell, he's now passed away, unfortunately, but he had like the long curly hair. And I was like, hey, wait, that's like me in my youth, but also like, I think it really looks nice. And I just let it grow. And somehow it was just like, this is me, this is the guy I am. And
And at what point did the music start? Was that still in high school, or was that in college?
Way earlier. When I was young, my father would give like classical music, like Carnaval des Animo. It's a classical piece where the instruments like portray animals. It's really, for children, it's the best way to get sort of introduction into classical music. My father, he was also like into Christian rock, like it's called Larry Norman, Resurrection Band, like these you could say strong religious groups, but it's rock music. They had like this idea to make also for like Christian kids like rock music. Because back then rock music was from the devil, but they said, music is music, and you decide if it's like for the devil or for Christ or any other religion. So I listened to a lot of, it was normal that we would hear like classical music at home, but also like rock music. And I myself started also at a very young age to be interested in especially the louder music. First like Stryper, but also bands like Crash Dog. It's like a Christian punk band. And I found the attitude of punk was most appealing, because the other music was kind of romantic, which is fine, but I found this like feet in the ground, like really basic down what is life and the real problems that we face today. And I got into more like the punk side of music.
In terms of relationships, were you getting into serious relationships in high school or college?
High school, I had like the biggest crush on one girl, and I would just be like nervous to go to school. Like I would see her, and it was just like the sweetest thing if you think back now how big it was in my head. And but I was very not shy because I was in contact with her, but I was like I was not ready for that. Like serious relationships, I started at like 2021. Then I had like the real serious relationships.
Okay, how old were you when you actually lost your virginity?
That's right. No, I can't. Okay, no, it's okay. I was 20, so
Okay.
but I must say I had always the actually I wanted to keep it for marriage. Yeah. That was my intention, but yeah,
It didn't work out that way, I see.
yeah.
Okay, so you graduate from college, and then you become a social science teacher for a high school.
Yeah.
Okay, how was that experience?
Yeah, I was always interested in philosophy and a little bit politics back then, because there was sort of like it was like some renewal in politics in the Netherlands, but it quickly died down. Yeah, and being a high school teacher was I really love the contact with the children. Especially high school age. That's my favorite time, because I also, if I remember my youth, high school was like way above all like kindergarten or primary school. Wonderful time. So I love this era where they're sort of like still like children. You know, they make these children, but they're also like, yeah, they look like adults, but they have this childish. But I just love the humor, the grumpiness also they can have, and like total like, and they're still quite open. So when you're teaching philosophy or social science, they're really like opening for, hey, okay, the older you get, the more you have your political or ideology formed, and they're still like, yeah, balancing like, okay, this is a good argument. This and that makes it interesting to be a social studies teacher in a high school.
Okay, so how long did you stay as a teacher in high school?
About 10 years, I think.
Oh, quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here you are, you're working as a high school social science teacher. And in 2004, you're around 23 years old at the time, a Dutch law passes. And basically what they said was that kids conceived by semen or egg donation have the right to access the information of the donor at age 16, which basically meant that donors can no longer be anonymous at that point, right?
Yeah.
Which was, I'm sure, quite a shakeup, because a lot of times people donate sperm, a lot of times just for money, or, they don't want to have to basically be connected with the offspring. But now this law passes and it exposed all these men, which from what I understand caused a huge drop in semen donation. Because, suddenly these men didn't want to expose themselves, so way less men would come in, and it created a long waiting list for semen donation, which sometimes took years. Is that accurate?
Totally. Yeah. You're well informed. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what happens.
Right. And from what I understand, though, as long as there's some sort of contract in place, there is no child support required when it comes to semen donation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you have that, but then again, suddenly all these men were like, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. So it created this huge backlog. Now, you had met a guy in college who was infertile.
Yeah.
Right? And is that what kind of got the thought process of potentially doing semen donation?
Yeah. I was quite close with him. We did our practicum, So we would go together to visit the school and do some lessons, like 2 or 3 hours. And he was like typical guy from The Hague, laid back, easygoing. And though we were like on a different, like I'm more conservative, and I think he was more like liberal, you can say. But we were like totally accepting that we have these different. Was never any argument. He was like super cool guy, and I found it really hard that it's such a. And I've saw it many times before in my life that almost like the greatest people, they met with this bad luck, like infertility, and. Yeah, that was for me the moment, like, wow, he's my age. And then you start to, at that age, you start to think like, okay, I want to have a family also later. And this sort of started the whole, for me to dive deeper into this whole donor world or fertility world.
In 2007, you're 26 years old at the time, you decided to donate sperm for the first time.
Yeah.
What led up to this decision?
So with his story in mind, and with the story of the sperm banks closing, I started to read a lot about it, and I started to think, this actually it's a really great way of contributing something to humanity or to people. And also, I'm always been into philosophy. So I've also studied 1 year philosophy in university, and I was always looking like, what's the meaning of life? How can I make my life meaningful? And I was reading like. I remember the moment where I was like, this is like, it was sort of like a moment where I was like, this could be also something that you could do. It was when I was reading like, there were like 4 windows. It was like in a magazine of my mom, it was like a ladies magazine, and it would like cover like 4 donors that were like a bank donor or like a known donor. And I was thinking like, wow, these men have really, they stay humble and small because, it's like on the 15th page, it's not like on the front page. You don't need like any big recognition for it, but they did something meaningful. And I was like, why shouldn't I do something like this? I really want to do something with my life for somebody else. And with the knowledge that the banks were also like, because there was still this message like, this bank is closing, we're in such high demand for donors. I decided to think like, okay, maybe you should like take a year to like balance it, like in your mind. Like, can you be a donor or not? And if after 1 year you're still like positive about it, then it's a sign, or it's like a that's go to a clinic and start helping. And the rest is history. I took the year and...
Okay, so you go to the donor location, and were you paid for this?
No, donors, they get like a travel compensation and maybe 10, 15 euros extra. Like they're not like, oh, you make this amount of miles. You get... They are like give a round number, like 50 euros, but
right.
You maybe keep 10 in your pocket, but it's also like a show of appreciation from the clinic.
Right. So nobody was actually supporting themselves by giving semen donation.
No, that's a misunderstanding. In the Netherlands, at least, I'm not sure how it's in other countries, but in Europe, mostly donors don't get like you will not get rich or money at all.
Well, right, because if you started giving semen donation in 2007, those kids are now 17 years old.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And, well, have any of those kids actually contacted you from early on?
I'm not like the all, but I think that I started in early that year, like winter, and they need like half a year at least to give the first batch. So they're about like 60 now.
60.
So it could be possible that
Right. 'Cause we're now reaching that age where they could actually find out your identity.
Exactly. They could
Right.
be. Yeah, this could be the first year that from the clinics, from the sperm bank, that there will be. Yeah.
Okay. And when you donate, although it's 16 years old, the children could find out your identity. But is there some sort of option where you could, at that time, where you could offer your identity early on? So if the kids are younger, like, 10 years old, they can contact you, or does it not work that way?
No, they keep like I guess, but with 12 or 13, they can get like basic information like eye color, height, and with 16, they can really have the possibility to contact. But we have to understand that this is like now, because the law changed in like 2004, I think. So the first children are now like starting to be able to contact the donors. I'm of course a little bit later, so my donor children can start from now on. But we don't really know how it's, what the procedure is. If they would, if donors really meet up with them, or some maybe say, I changed my mind, or I moved to some Bali or something to hide.
Yeah.
Or I've not heard yet how that is turning out, actually.
Well, according to the documentary, you first started donating in 2007, but right around 2014, the amount that you donated skyrocketed.
I think, I remember that part in the documentary. And I was
You saw this graph, and suddenly it suddenly went up drastically within like 2013, 2014. It was like 10 times, 100 times or something like that.
No. I think what happened is that they, the early, let's call the early years, the people that I helped, they also had a way different look at the whole thing. They were like, okay, I get this donor, and it's basically like they kept the contact way more short than later on. Because I was also in the early years, I was like, okay, you can have contact maybe once a year, an email, and at 16 we can meet or whatever. So what I think is that these families, like these early years, they don't really look for contact with, also not with other recipients. And the recipients that I helped, like around maybe from 10 to 12, 14, I was way more open. I was, look, if you want to meet me like on a Sunday afternoon and you're nearby, let me know, call me. And they're also the people that were more like open to that, and also more. I have like not like in my records, or I do not like a memory that year was like. It's probably that they. What I say, these people were more open to get contact, or willing to find somebody else.
Okay, so between 2007 and 2014, how many times were you donating each year? And did the numbers start to go up at all, or no?
I think that's on average was like 25 children per year, sort of. But one year would be like 10, and another year would be more like 30 or 40. So, but on average, it was like this, 20 to 25 families.
Do you remember the first time that you met one of your children?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
What year was this?
That's a long time ago. I think it was maybe 2009.
Okay, 2 years after you started. So this was
Yeah. Yes.
So still a baby.
It was a baby. Yeah, she was a baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you meet your baby for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's a girl. How did it feel to hold your baby for the first time, knowing that you weren't involved in those first 2 years?
It was a special day. Like, I can remember exactly how I felt when especially when I drove home, because the feelings come, well, in my case, it came later. Like, I was overwhelmed by, wow, I've held my own daughter, and she's so little. And it's very unique. It's something very beautiful. But it was also good, because in my mind, I had created sort of this separate roles, my private life and my donor life. And I must refer to the first time that I saw a picture of my first donor child. I remember I came home from a week I was a Boy Scout major, so I had like a whole bunch of children that I had like a whole week on the camp, and I came home and there was this birth card. We in the Netherlands they sent like a card when a baby is born, and I was like, okay, this is, and it was like the first family that I helped. So I was like, well, I went home and I was looking at the card and I said, okay, let's sit down and let the feelings, because I knew there was a picture in the card. So I was like, think, wow, you cannot return anymore. This is real. Now you change sort of your path, and that was what I started to realize. Like, you're now biologically a father, and that had an impact. So I watched the card and I looked at the picture and I was like, okay, that's a really cute baby. And I was relieved because it was not a clone of me. Because I would feel way more emotional or like maybe disturbed if it was just like a clone of myself. I could see, I saw some resemblance, but it was enough to like say, oh, okay, wow, it's a unique baby. The first time that you were, you don't know, you're like, oh, I really don't hope that's just like me. I would feel like that wouldn't feel right. So he's totally like this unique baby, and I was like, wow, this is so amazing, and yeah, for a man to see, his biological son the first time on a picture is like, I was like, wow. But after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I said, okay, let's now do the dishes. I have to work. It was totally fine. It's overwhelming, but I knew that I made the decision to be the donor, and that year that I took to sort of, place the feelings, that really helped me. And I could say, okay, wow, you did something beautiful there, the baby, but I didn't feel like emotional that I would like drive directly to them and hold the baby. I was like, no, this is my gift to these parents. Like, and the boy is in good hands, and yeah.
Okay. Now, during this time, are you in any long-term relationships? Are you thinking, well, I just held this baby that I was a donor for. Maybe I'll have my own child with a woman and actually have a family, maybe get married. Were those thoughts coming in at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think these feelings came later when I were helping more families. And then I would see every time, like, you get like a sense of it's like, cling, the family is complete. It's like, it's wonderful. And then after a few times that you've seen it, you're like, hey, but I want that too. It's such a beautiful thing to connect with somebody and to have that the family unit is made, and that you're like, you have your own little world. And I remember that I was longing for that as well. I had a girlfriend, but it was not that serious that I could see with her, because she seems to be more like, okay, I'm not sure if I even want to have kids, and I was okay, that's I would have stopped it earlier, but then it was more like, okay, it's my girlfriend, and but it definitely had some impact to see all these families, and then absolutely not jealous or anything, but more like longing for me. It started to grow, like, yeah, this is what I also want in life, it's
Okay. And then in 2013, that's when when you left teaching high school?
Yeah.
Okay. So what were you doing to support yourself at that point?
I did some minor jobs, like delivering paper, teaching guitar, to children. Anything that I could find that would suit me. But I really scaled down my living expenses at that point. So this is like maybe what I learned from my father. He's an artist, so he learned to have like a part-time stable job and then make earning with his arts. But it's very fluctuates always. So that's always been my my mindset.
Okay, well, like we said earlier, when they changed the laws in the Netherlands where they exposed donors' names at the age of 16, when the child turned 16, suddenly you had this huge decrease in the number of donors and sperm banks were closing. But a website popped up, which translated as longing for a child. What's the Dutch word for it?
Verlangen naar een kind.
Thank you. I knew I wasn't going to be able to pronounce that. So this was the only website in Holland that was essentially a marketplace for sperm donors.
No.
No, that's not true?
That's
what they say in the documentary.
That's why...
There's multiple websites?
Yeah, there were multiple, like, how do you call it, proto-websites before. There was BamMam, like .nl. It's like for single moms, like that want to consciously become a single mom with a donor. There was like a Stork something website where there will be like many platforms, but this longing for a child was the one that stepped up like in quality for that time, because most of these old websites were not really like administrated well. Like the administrator would be like, oh, like weeks later, oh, there's a guy on the website like asking for a big amount of money for a donation, and they maybe wouldn't even mind that much. But with the Longing for a Child website, there was really like a criteria. You cannot not force, but like you cannot like offer like I want to do natural insemination. Like it's something you have to be open to donate artificially in the first place. And if the woman, or if you make some sort of agreement, it's fine, but you cannot say like I do only like natural insemination, or asking more than travel expenses and like extreme amounts of money. Maybe some ask like travel expenses and $50 extra, but not like I ask like $500 for one donation, because that also attracts the wrong man. Of course, they will maybe give something else than sperm to just have a side job.
Yeah.
So that was the difference with the previous sites. It was really more regulated.
Okay, what year did you sign up to this website?
Oh, I think the year it got launched. So
okay,
it was
around 2015, 2014, something like that.
Something, yeah.
Okay, so now you're on this website, and this sort of is an alternate way than going to a sperm bank, because you now have a direct contact with the donor. And it basically, the website's still up.
Yeah.
I checked it out. So it basically lists names with ages, a small little write-up, no pictures, and women would essentially email. You would put up an email that you would use for this type of thing. Women would start emailing you, and then from there you would start to, exchange photos, whatever else. And then if it seemed like it was a good match, you would first meet in person. Is that accurate?
Yeah. They would, well, in my case, they would write me. I never approach anybody by myself. I thought it was kind of odd to do that. So I got like received an email. I checked like, okay, do they match my criteria, the basic criteria? And then you...
What is your criteria?
Mostly it's like the way people present themselves. Like if they come off like some people will just write a line like, hey, can you help? That's like, no. Or they would say like, I turned 18 years old. I live with my mom, and I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Next. You have to, like provide like a statement. You don't have to be like for me, I don't have like a criteria for educational level or looks, or most important, a good mother or father, parents, with love, attention, a secure place, and basic necessities, so that they could provide for the children, not have extreme debt and all these things. So healthy from minds, and that was my criteria. But along the way, people they saw you like, oh, this is my this is my delivery guy. I can just order for him. Okay, you come to the station at that and that time. You deliver, and I say, well, wait, that's not the way. I want to have a little bit of contact, like to get to know you, but not like I'm a sort of delivery guy. Like, okay, pap, here, bye, and because for me, it was also important that the children will be in a good place when they grow up, and when they are asking, like, where's my biological father, and how did it sort of happen? And if the mother will say, I don't know, this is his name, I've never heard from him again, or here's his email, he came to the station, and that's really not a nice story for a child.
Okay, so now you start meeting women that contacted you from this website. And you essentially presented yourself as like a donor plus, where not only would you donate, but you would offer to meet up with the children like a few times a year if that's what the parents wanted. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I felt, because I started at the sperm bank, because that was for the thing that I knew. I said, okay, a donor goes to a sperm bank, and I'm 100% behind that decision. But I felt along the way that I missed some sort of human interaction with the recipient. And like I say, I 100% stand behind the help that I did for your clinic. But I was like, hey, maybe I felt more secure. I felt like, okay, it's not so frightening as I thought it would be to be a donor. It's actually kind of, the clinics are very friendly and help, welcoming. And I felt like, well, maybe there's, and I knew that there would be like this known donor option, but I started to explore, and I was like, wow, this is great. I can like meet people, and I was thinking this is the best for the child, in my opinion. It's like, not that I say a donor is from a clinic but I was thinking this is add something extra for the life of the child, and also the recipients, and also me, to be honest, because I felt really sometimes I was a bit curious, like, who are these people, and just to know how they are, and so that's why I like, okay, well, maybe try to to help some families privately.
Okay, so the documentary focused on some of the women that actually went through this website that you met. So I want to go through a few of them. The first of which is Suzanne and Natalie. They are a lesbian couple, and Natalie, I believe, is the one who carried. She didn't want to have sex with a guy. That was out of the question. So she wanted to do this, but she wanted to actually meet with the sperm donor in person, because the sperm banks, she felt, was very, just not personal enough for her. So initially, she met with another donor from the website named Leon. And the way she described it, although Leon is not in the documentary, but they did show some of his pictures. He was this big guy. He was bald, had this huge scar on the back of his head. And she got a little freaked out, and she said, no, I don't want to have a baby with this guy. Now, do you know Leon?
Yeah.
Okay. What is Leon like?
Well, what I've heard from people that met him is that he was like tall.
You've never met him?
I met him a few times. Yeah. But the way they described him, well, tall guy, bald, muscular, never wore a jacket somehow, even when it was freezing, and. Yeah, he was when I got to know him. I first also had this image, like, okay, he was like a hooligan, It's like this extreme pumped up guy, but he was like nothing like his image. He was a very sometimes even insecure guy. He was not shy, but you could clearly see that he was not somebody that would be rude or extremely outgoing. He was kind of reserved, but once he was opening up to people. And I have also contact with recipients that had him as a donor now, because they contact me after the Netflix documentary, because they are like so furious about this, and they say, you have to tell that Leon was really a nice, good, and very. I cannot say normal because he was like in his way very like a special, unique guy, but he was like a sweet man. He wouldn't harm anybody or anything, even though he looked like the guy that is standing in front of the club and it's like pushing people out.
Bouncer.
Yeah, bouncer. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so Suzanne and Natalie met with Leon. They didn't like him. They went back to the website. They contacted you. And you sent them a bunch of pictures. And they were like, oh, great. Blue eyes, long blonde hair. They met up with you. And they were like, okay, this is perfect. Now, according to the documentary, when they asked how many children you had, you said that you were helping 5 families.
I don't remember what I said exactly to them, but let's assume they're right.
Okay, during this time, though, obviously people would ask, this is a normal question in this situation. By this time, this was around 2015, how many kids did you have by then? Was it hundreds by this time?
No, 2000?
2015. You were 34.
No, maybe 125 or some 150.
Okay. And would you not tell them 150 because you think it would freak them out?
I have to tell that at the first, I was always honest about the number. Like the first years, I would tell them everything. I like immediately. Also, my own name was on the website, but I found out that you were also very vulnerable, because my students would find me on the website and were like, what's he do? Dates that I had will be like, I found this website and what is this with you? Why are you?
So women that you were trying to date would stop dating you because they found out that you were a donor.
She didn't stop, but she found it, and it was like, okay, I should like use an alias now, because the longing for a child was like open. You could just type and you could see the names directly, and later the groups came, they were closed. So, but yeah, I was always honest about the number, but I realized first that the clinics would also not provide any amount of number. For example, if these 2 women would go to the clinic, they would tell like, okay, we don't know. You will never find the amount of number. But secondly, I also found that when I gave for example, the first years, I would say, okay, I have to help 20. But then they would say like, okay, but after us, you must stop. Or they would say, you have to let us know every pregnancy. It was sort of like difficult for me, like, okay, what information is good to give? And like I say, there started to be the women, not all, but some women started to like control you as a donor. Like, oh, I have a friend living there. You cannot help her when she's also a lesbian. Don't help her. Or how many have you helped in my city? I say 1 or 2. Oh, but you cannot help anymore. And then they start, maybe also not in the whole province, in the whole state, And yeah, this was a moment where I said, okay, I give an approximate number. Like, okay, they know that I'm not exclusive to them. They know I've helped more families and that I probably will help more. And actually, for example, they would ask and they would say nothing. For example, this particular family, they would just ask and they would not say like, okay, but please stop with 6 families or 7. So.
Okay, so with Suzanne and Natalie, you initially went to their house. From what they say, you went in the bathroom.
She was with her ex-girlfriend at that time. She
Ah,
is,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
this, yeah,
Okay,
they have
right.
that. Yeah,
Got it. Yeah, she
it
was with her ex-girlfriend,
yeah, ex-girlfriend.
right?
Yeah,
So you went to their house, you did your thing in the bathroom, gave them the sample, and then Natalie became pregnant.
yeah,
They had a child. Then they came back and said they want another child.
yeah. Much later, like
Much later.
Yeah, 10 years later, with her new
wife.
Yeah.
Okay. And according to the documentary, they said that you went into a public bathroom and masturbated in one of the stalls and then came out. And they're saying there's other men next to you and stuff like that, the way they described it. Is that actually true?
No, that first of all, I would like it happened more often because I was getting used in the clinics to donate like in this little cubicle. Like, okay, you can go in this little room, and for me it was not something different. Like I wouldn't say it happened like many times, but it would happen when needed because sometimes the hotels were closed, and I would offer them to, okay, maybe we can go to this mall, and there will be like a bedroom for what do you call it? For handicapped people, like
Yeah, a handicap bathroom.
yeah. So it was you had basically your own big space. It was more spacious than any space I had in the clinic. So for me, it was not really. I think they make a really big deal out of it because they weren't like this. When I asked them, they said, oh, "Sure, fine, let's do it." I mean,
And then there is Vanessa.
yeah,
Now, Vanessa is a heterosexual woman who, at a certain age, said that she couldn't find a man to have children with, so she decided to go this route. She said that she paid you $200 plus travel expenses, and you went to her home. According to the documentary, she said that you offered to have intercourse with her instead of actually going and masturbating in a cup. And you said it was more effective and you wouldn't tell anybody. Is this true?
no,
So you didn't have intercourse with
no. I would come to her house and I would donate for her, but no,
her? Okay.
this didn't happen. She also says it in the New York Times, so she's constantly changing her story. At first, she said, "No, he came by and it was just with the cup." Now she's I think they put it in for the documentary, like to make it more
Racy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I must say we were close. I had a good, like a very good, like sort of friendship with her. So she would cook for me. She would talk about Bon Jovi. It was her favorite music. And I think that, maybe she started to like me in some way. Not necessarily fall in love, but I must say we had really. She changed like day and night. I must say she was really very kind when I helped her, and I was surprised how she changed suddenly.
Well, any of these women that you would meet off this website, did you have intercourse with any of the women? Or did you offer it and did any of them say, sure, let's do it?
Oh yeah, actually the first time that I wasn't really thinking about this when I started. My focus was really on helping families. I wasn't even like very familiar with the single and lesbian families. I was more in my mind like heterosexual families, like my friend from college. But then actually the first time that I had like intercourse for as a donor was when a sort of hippie mom, she would say to me like, look, I'm single, you're single. I find you attractive and I think it's stupid to get a baby from a syringe when you're, when you can also make love in a sort of way and say, oh, okay. I found her also quite attractive and I would say, yeah, sure. That's fine. Yeah, if we both have consent and very clear also, like I say also, but we have to have it clear. And she also was very clear, like, look, I'm not looking for a boyfriend. I really like you, but I really want to do this alone. So, don't get in love, don't fall in love. And I say, no, sure, I'm fine. I understand. And later I would also, at times, for example, you would try like 4 or 5 times. And then I was thinking like, okay, we can get along very well. And I would always like send them an email. Like, hey, look, we've been trying with the Suing and Cup methods. And, maybe we can try. Have you ever thought about trying natural? I feel like I have, a good feeling for this. Let me know. You can think about it. You can send an email. So I would never like ask them in person, like bam. I would always give them the time to rethink it. And then I said, if you don't want to do this, if you say I feel uncomfortable, I will help you with the series and the cup. It's not like I happy to help you, even if it takes like 5 years.
Okay.
So, and there's women that also decline. They say, no, sorry, I really like you as a donor, but I'm not going to do this. I'm saying, sure, fine. That's.
What percentage of women would take you up on that offer?
I wouldn't ask it that often because.
When you did ask, like what percentage?
Percentage. Let's say maybe 20, 30 women, something like that over the 17 years. Yeah.
I mean, did you feel like somewhat of a gigolo when you were doing this? I mean, you're kind of having to perform on cue in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because they would still pay the travel expenses.
Right, exactly. You're being paid to perform, essentially.
Yeah, well,
you almost like a male porn star in a way. Like,
yeah, well, it's. I must say, looking back, I changed also my life, my beliefs. I went back to my roots. Like I'm not really. It was good that I don't regret it. But if I would do it again, I would maybe have like a few, like more exclusive, like a few where I feel like okay, that will be with them. What was really like something beautiful. But sometimes I was also. Say, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then later I was like, it's like, it's easier to just donate in the cup for me.
Okay, so then with Vanessa, you guys had one child together. And then in 2017, she wanted a second child.
Yeah.
So once again, you came to her house, gave her a sample, and not a sample, but the whole thing.
And then she came pick it up at my place. Yeah,
got it.
And one time I thought I delivered it at the station, but I have to say that she knew about the bigger amount of children, so she was fully aware that there were like I don't know, like 200 or 300 children, but at least a lot. And
well, I mean, according to the documentary, she said that you told her it was your 8th child.
Yeah, but the first time probably. Yeah.
Right. Oh, by the second time you told her.
She was fully aware. She had contact with the moms, the other moms. And,
got it.
And she still continues. So that's like something in the documentary, I think, like, and there's another couple doing the same. They're like, oh, they're so upset, but they still had the second baby. So that feels like, not...
Yeah, I feel you. Okay, so then there's Joyce and John.
Yeah.
Now, they were a married couple. John had a first wife that he had 3 children with, and he got a vasectomy after that. They got divorced. He got remarried to a younger wife, and she wanted to have children. He went to the doctor to try to reverse the vasectomy and was told that it wasn't possible. So they came to you.
Yeah.
In the beginning, she would show up to your house to get the sample. And then she would try to drive home, but then she would get lost and, it became a kind of a mess. So then you would go to their house and you would, go to the bathroom and give them the sample.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with Joyce and John?
Especially with heterosexual couples, I kept the lines a little bit shorter because I felt like I am really helping them and like they have to build their own family. He is 100% the father. I don't want to interfere in anything like, I'm not important in that regard. I wanted really to them create 100% John as a father with the children. And so there was like a little communication with them, like not a lot after she got pregnant. And these are basically the ones I feel like for them it's a bit more painful than for lesbian or single moms, because especially for lesbians, they're like, okay, this is it. We cannot have a baby together.
There's no plan B here.
Yeah. You're our helper, and come help us. And with the heterosexual couples, I always felt this more like, a bit more tragic. There's always a story behind, and of course, their choice was to have a baby with their husband. So I really try to be as respectful and as helpful as possible towards them.
Well, what percentage of the couples that you helped were heterosexual versus lesbian?
I think maybe only 20% was heterosexual.
Got it.
Yeah.
Was there ever level of jealousy or bitterness from the husband because he's having to use another man to raise a child that's technically not his? And, was there any sort of, did you ever get into a fight with any of these guys or anything of that sort?
I must say, I'm leaving John now out of the equation because he said some, things in the documentary. I'm, shocked. But for the other men, I can speak that they're absolute heroes. They opened me with, they welcomed me with open arms, and they were support, because some men, I heard from other stories that the man would say, "Oh, I let my wife is picking it up, and I will not show my face." But my experience is I was like, wow, these guys are they deserve a statue, because it's really something that's that you can be so positive and just involved and okay, cool. That's. I was so surprised how cool they are and how good fathers they turned out to be, and it's amazing. I that's always something special, and I never had anyone being jealous or creepy or strange or because I could imagine that some would be like, this is my wife, but maybe that's my appearance. I'm not very a guy that is trying to impress. I say, I totally respect when a good couple. You cannot break up a good couple, in my opinion. That's my rule. So especially when they're in pain of the infertility, you have to be super respectful and I really respect them.
Okay, there was also Nicolette, who was a lesbian. According to the documentary, Nicolette said you told her that you had helped 2 families and she would be the third, which I guess during that time may have been true.
Yeah.
Then they interviewed Dr. Max Kerfs, who was a clinical embryologist at Isala Fertility Center. That was one of the centers that you would go to. And according to him, there's a written agreement with donors that they would not be active at other clinics. So is this something that you were given and you signed and so forth?
I had to sign an agreement, but I don't remember that they would be telling me this explicitly, oh, you cannot do. It was more like, hey, welcome. Okay, they would talk about genetics and they would ask you some things. And I think that because there was a clinic in Groningen in the north, and they would ask really have you been a donor before? Yes or no? And I say, yes, I've been a donor. And then they say, okay, you cannot help. So I remember that I would tell if they would ask explicitly. And in my imagination, because I think you want to know how this. Okay.
Yeah.
When I started in the past with the anonymous donors, there will be no. You could go and donate in all the clinics that I've been, and more, because there were more clinics, because it was anonymous. It didn't really matter how often you will donate. So the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, so that's the sort of United States. They keep the guidelines for donors. They have the calculation of 25 children per 800,000 inhabitants. So this would mean that in the Netherlands you could have like one donor. If you applied that number, you could have like 500 children, basically 530. In those days, those anonymous days, they would have also like this equation. Like, okay, in the north they would have like this number, in the south, but they really didn't communicate amongst each other. So that was my understanding, that you can be a donor and you can also go to another state to donate. And I would also see like different donors, like or the same donors that I would see in other clinics. So in my understanding, it was like not really a problem at all. And I would expect that they would like sit down and say like, okay, we called the other clinic and we heard that you, or if it were something was wrong. So that's sort of like a gray area where I'm like, okay, were they not really like checking on donors because they had a huge shortage and they were happy with any donor? Or were they not strict? Or is this just like a policy that they, in one clinic, they would really like say to you, okay, if you say we really want to. So, yeah, it's my understanding, it was like this.
Well, yeah. According to Dr. Kurfs, a donor was not allowed to have more than 25 children in the Netherlands. And the reason is to avoid the risk of siblings meeting each other and dating without knowing that they're siblings. The Netherlands is a relatively small country, has 17 million people. And according to this doctor, they had found out that you had deceived the clinic, because I guess they had received an anonymous email saying that you had fathered 150 children. And you had also donated to what they say is 11 different clinics.
Six
different clinics.
Yeah, the other...
the documentary said 11. So it's actually 6?
They're like 6 like sperm banks, official sperm banks, and the others were like clinics where I would go with a private donation.
Got it.
They say all that, yeah, but it's...
Right. So the clinic found out that you had 102 children through different sperm banks through the Netherlands. They told some of the patients, who became very upset. And then at that point, you were banned from donating in any Dutch clinics. Is this accurate?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you found out that you were now banned from donating, how'd you feel?
I was surprised. Like I say, they over the years they somehow, I think, under pressure of the foundation Donorkind, they would sort of like constantly, how do you say it, like shame clinics and shame like donors like into lowering the numbers. So I think over the years the clinics sort of like took a more strong standpoint on 25, because I remember the first clinic that I went to in Leiden, I called them up. Like you can call them up and ask them for what is the amount of children that you have already create with my sperm, sort of say. They would say 35. So at one clinic they already had more than this so-called guideline. So I think that it all went under pressure from the foundation donor child to sort of say, okay, we have to make stricter guidelines. I don't think the clinics themselves were very concerned with that number, because they knew the real situation. And the clinics, they know that sometimes I was the only donor with 2 other guys. Like we had to provide for whole the state. So they were super happy with any donor, and they were not really like, overly concerned with, oh, maybe there's some more children, because we already came from a worse time where it was all anonymous and children would have no information about the donors. So yeah, that's basically what the situation. It's kind of like, you're like in a transitional times where from anonymous to known donors. And also one thing that I want to add, like this doctor, he's saying we have a limit of 25 in the Netherlands, a cap. But his colleagues in all the other clinics, they work with Cryos, the Danish bank. And yeah, they would ship 25 from one donor. They would ship 25 to the Netherlands. But the same donor, well, they showed it in the documentary, because I was also a donor at Cryos. they would ship it to all these other countries worldwide. So him saying like, oh, we keep a very strict cap of 25 can be for the Netherlands, but the parents that have a donor from cryos, they also would end up with hundreds of siblings worldwide. So that's why I am sort of like surprised that I can understand from a moral standpoint from it was like, was I obligated to tell the real number or not, or did it, but if you look like the hard numbers, I am not an exception. There's many people in the Netherlands that have a donor from Denmark, and they have maybe 25 siblings in the Netherlands, but like hundreds of siblings worldwide. And somehow that's no problem with all the arguments that they give. So yeah, I think that they, like, okay, you can say many things about me, that's fine, but I think that they're not really open and honest, especially not in the documentary. And
some of the women who were having kids, they started to find other women in the Netherlands who also had kids by you. So Nicolette found out that her coworker was also, with child from you. And then she met 3 other people who you had children with. Some of these women would now basically start connecting the dots. In the process of finding out all these other kids, Nicolette wanted to find who the other moms were, and she found a Facebook group, which basically had all these women who you had kids with. And there were literally hundreds of women in this group. Did you know about this Facebook group?
yeah, but that was much later. She started to find first her ex-colleague, and I must say I knew it before them because I had them, or one of them, on Facebook, and I saw her being friends with Nicolette. So and I was like, that's interesting. And I was like in a moral dilemma, like, do I have to tell, or I have to, on one side, respect the privacy of Nicolette, but on the other hand, yeah, it is, of course, yeah, they have contact with each other. So, but yeah, later they would set up a group to have meet up with other recipients, with other women. Yeah,
right. And then there was a lesbian couple named Kate and Laura from Australia.
Oh yeah, I know them by a different name. Yeah.
Oh, that's not their name?
That's not their name. No.
So, you want to expose their real name?
Okay. Couldn't be bothered.
Got it. So they had 2 sons by you?
Yeah.
Now, you would travel to Australia?
No.
No?
They are the women that ordered from Cryos.
Cryos?
Yeah.
Aha.
The Danish bank. Yeah.
Okay, so Cryos is the company that would ship out sperm all over the world.
Yeah.
Right? It's the largest international sperm bank in the world.
Exactly, yeah.
Rudd was your alias.
Yeah, this is important for people to understand that Cryos would give me the name because they want to hide my identity. So they would provide the name, and they would also provide like the way I look. Like they say I'm like Brad Pitt, or like, come on, like very like a low tire Brad Pitt probably. But they would give you like some sort of how do you call it? Like description. Like how you are, sort of. So that was not my. People say, yeah, you have false names, but that was just a policy. They will do it for all the donors.
Right, it's anonymous.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So,
right, because they started finding out about this Facebook group. Basically, started getting all the mothers together, and then the families on this Facebook group would start having a sibling day in the Netherlands, where all these kids would come and get to know their brothers and sisters. Were you ever invited to any of these things?
Yeah, I started the first sibling day.
You started the first sibling day?
Yeah.
And you were there, and you met, how many kids were at sibling day?
Well, we start with 3 families. Like Nicolette was there, was another couple there, and like every year they would like join a new family. And I show you the one picture. There was like 20 families one day. But
how many of your kids have you been in the same room with? What's the most number in one room?
That was that day. It was like maybe 20 family, like maybe 25 children or something. Like,
So you're sitting here with your 25 children that all look like you in their own way. Was that sort of a surreal experience?
it was more surreal because, like, I help biracial or I have biracial children, but somehow on that day there would be only like the blonde, blue-haired girl. Almost all the children would be like the more blonde children. But it was more surreal to me. It was I'm used to being around with more of my children, the donor children, but it was more funny because we went to this certain section of The Hague where like it's like 100% are like Turkish, like and Morocco, you know, they're like Arab people. And we came into this playground and it would look like, what are these guys doing here? You know, why are they all like these like totally blonde? And they were like, and I had to take pictures with them. They were like, is he like some sort of like on a child's like TV show or something? Because I was wearing my Hawaii shirt and I looked like a cartoon, like I'm a bit cartoonish, you know, with the long hair, and that's just, and they were like, maybe he's like a known, like from Sesame Street or something, you know, like that was more surreal than but I must say it was a bit overwhelming too. I had no time to have proper conversations with the children one by one. So then I said next year, I'll do smaller days, like.
Well, right, because at one of these meetups, you know, Nicolette said that a lot of the kids would just kind of connect with each other instantly, even though they didn't grow up with each other and didn't know each other. The fact that they were all half siblings, they would have this instant connection. And she did mention that her 10-year-old daughter had a crush on her 10-year-old brother, and it was a bit disturbing. You know, they call it Luke and Leia complex. You know, Luke and Princess Leia from Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Who didn't know that they were brother and sister until like Return of the Jedi. Like,
really? Oh,
till the third movie. You know, and there was also this sort of weird tension between the two, and that is sort of the thing that sort of gets pushed in this documentary of the fear of siblings falling in love with each other, having kids, and then now you have inbred children. What is your thought about this?
Okay, well, first, I of course, it's the parent to guide. The parent has look. If the child has these feelings, the parent has to explain to them. Well, there are so many other boys in this world. You really have to find somebody else, and that's not really. They make it out like a very big thing. But if you just tell your child, you know, they're the authority. Tell them you cannot do this. You cannot go with your half brother. There's enough boys out there. Get over it. That's something that I don't understand why they make such a big deal out of it. You are the one like guide them the right way. And in life, you have so many times. I met wonderful women in my life, but I have my own limits. Like, okay, I may feel very. For example, I once was like so attracted to a girl, so in love, but I knew that I cannot be with her. This is not going to work. She's on a whole different level of thinking, of you know, ideas in life. You just can't, and that's life. You really have to sometimes, just say to yourself, well, I have these emotions, but I have to, you know, I cannot do it. It's just the way it is. And the interesting thing is about the inbreeding, because she brings it up more often, the chances of inbreeding. And she basically showed that in her situation, she found out like in one question, she just would have to ask like her colleague, like, hey, is your donor Jonathan? And she would know that, okay, they're siblings. And that's what people forget a lot. I get like on my YouTube channel, I have a YouTube channel where I cover now also like the donor things, and I get all the like the Pavlov reaction is like inbreeding, incest. I get it. I would probably think the same when I wasn't a donor, but I want to express that a known donor, and especially known donor plus, and I've been, in the most cases, known donor plus, they have the question. And that's their tool. They can ask anyone. For example, they can walk in here and they can ask you, are you a child? Yeah, it's impossible. But for example, they could ask you and you could say no, and they have the answer. So they make it like a whole big deal. But I think that the great thing about the known donor plus is that the inbreeding argument, or like fear, I must rather say, is, in my opinion, like basically zero.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there were studies that were done where they said that 20 to 36% of sibling children will die or have a major disability due to inbreeding. You know, they actually did a study of 29 offspring that resulted from brother-sister or father-daughter incest, and 20 had congenital abnormalities. There was a 1994 study that showed that inbreeding with first cousins had a 4.4% of mortality. Whereas if you look at second cousins, it's almost zero. So first cousins, brother, sister, there is actual medical science to say that this is a problem, because you have recessive genes coming on both sides, and there could potentially be a problem. And although, yes, some people will go and do the extra, checks and so forth to make sure this other person isn't related to them, but these human beings are going off into the world everywhere, and you really can't be 100% sure that you're not going to date your brother or your sister.
Well, that's I totally understand all the studies, but it still implies that the children are not aware that they're from, first of all, that they are from a donor, and secondly, that I am their donor. So, for example, take Nicolette's daughter. She's moving to, say, Australia, and she will meet someone, a guy, and she was like, okay, I like this guy. She can, with one check, she can just ask, because I only help people that would be open about that the child is donor conceived. I would never donate to somebody that would only will not inform the children. So all the parents that I've helped, also in the clinics, they will be open one day, and the children can find also the record at the clinic. They know my name. So the suggestion that it's like, oh yeah, it's like the certainty that they will meet up and will have children is like, guys, come on. These children, they have the biggest like weapon against inbreeding in their hands. Well, like in their mouth, because they can ask anybody. They can go here in LA. They can go ask any peer, like, hey, are you a donor conceived child? Yes or no? And yes, is your father Jonathan? They can go ask anybody. But the studies done are, of course, always done on anonymous donors, because now the times are changing. There's more known donors and more known donors plus. So we have to reconsider these studies. We have to now look at, okay, the children have really tools. Also, they have like 23andMe, my ancestry. I get children on my 23andMe and my ancestry. They find out. I also can, like, oh, you have a daughter. And I can chat. I chat, hey, how are you? I think we're related.
Oh, so you found a lot of your kids through 23andMe.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You're on there as well. Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't know them. They were conceived by the clinic. So I really think it's very important that people are very careful, because it's really hurting to the children that people say, like, it's like 99% of reactions. I block them all because I don't want the children to see this nonsense. Like, oh, they were going to have sex with each other. Oh, how? Come on, they know.
It could happen, though. Let's just be fair. It could happen if the mother or the father decides not to tell the kids. Because look, you can't deny that it's a little bit embarrassing for a father to tell his child, I'm not really your father. I couldn't have children. We had to go get a sperm donor, and I'm biologically not related to you. Listen, I have friends in my own life, like one of my best friends who's black, who has white Russian parents, told me in 5th grade that both of his parents are white, and his mom told him he must have had a black relative somewhere that they didn't know about, and that's why he ended up black. he started to have all type of psychological problems. In high school, he tried to kill himself, and his mom finally said, okay, I had an affair with a black guy at work. Let's go do a DNA test with your real father, who looks just like him. Suddenly, he gets introduced to his real father and all these siblings who he's now meeting for the first time. And then his life kind of got a lot more calm after that. But he still calls this the Great Deception to this day, and he's had issues throughout his life. Parents lie. This is just the reality of life, right?
Yeah.
So you can't stop. You can't say 100% because it is what it is.
Well, then, like I say, I took I was very responsible.
Right. It is on the parents, but it is reality.
Yeah. And I made sure that the parents would inform them. I would also like, for example, one time there was a couple and they would say like, we will not tell you that you are, or that the child is donor deceived. But I said, look, what are you talking about? The child can do like a DNA test, like in what is it, 8th grade or 5th? I don't know what is but in high school they do it with biology. You know, they could do a cheap DNA test.
They can go to a pharmacy and buy one for $10.
Exactly. I said, what are you doing? This is so stupid. Be open. And like I said, that's why I have no worry about the inbreeding. Like you say, like I know that the parents will not lie to the children because I screen them like very careful. Like I really said, like, look, I only help you if. And they said, no, of course, we are open. We will inform the children when they ask. We will slowly. This is also like hurting to the recipients because they were. Many people think, oh, you know, they will not take care of this, but they're very responsible people. They know that this is a concern, and they will inform the child. And of course, there might be somebody in the clinic that I have no contact with. They might do that, but then there's still the children can do the net. And I know as a fact that in the clinic they also do like they have like counseling, and they will like sort of make sure that the parents are telling the children the truth. So I can understand the first reaction of people like inbreeding and all this stuff, and there will be like, of course, there will be moments for the children that will be difficult when they meet some that is that's possible.
Yeah. They find out they have the same dad.
Yeah,
right. Well, Kate and Laura, when they started to find out that there were so many other children, they started to investigate and they started to look at all the different countries that you would visit on your YouTube page. And they started creating social media posts to try to find what other places you had children in. So they looked in Italy, Austria, Serbia, France, Ukraine, Germany, Poland, Hungary, the UK, Switzerland, Mexico, South Africa, Russia, Romania, Denmark, Sweden, the US, Canada, Kenya, and Argentina.
Yeah.
These are all the places you were visiting.
I've never been to Russia. I've never been to Romania. I've never been to more countries that were named. But
okay, but you went to a lot of the majority of the countries I've named. You were at.
I think that's the problem, that they dig a little bit too deep. They look. I can understand their train of thinking, that they feel like everything is now maybe like a mystery. But I was also sometimes having a holiday, like in Poland or in Hungary. And
would you go to the sperm banks in all those countries that you would visit?
No. I've only. That's also very important because
that's what they made it sound like in the documentary. That every country you go in, you'd be hitting up all the sperm banks and making 1,000 children everywhere you step foot in.
Absolutely not. I've been to 6 clinics in the Netherlands, like as a bank donor, and in the Cryos Bank. The other countries, I was visiting private donations, a holiday, or I was there to donate in the clinic privately. So for one couple. But I haven't been to. That's way too much.
Right, but in the documentary, they said that Cryos would ship sperm to all the other countries as well.
That's true. Yeah.
So you actually do have children all through Europe, right?
That's very that's very possible. Yeah,
because they would ship without your direct knowledge. So when you would hit, you might have 25. Let's just say you have 25 in the Netherlands, but if they take your sperm and send it to Hungary, then you have 0 in the Netherlands, and you could start over, and then they would keep shipping and shipping and shipping, and basically keep the limits so you could keep donating in the same country because they'd be shipping it to the other parts of the world.
Yeah, that's how cryos works. Yeah.
You know, and Kate and Laura think that you donate because you have a God complex. Is there any truth in that?
This is the problem with the documentary. They let people vent out things that are basically like they sound like a marital dispute, like and then in front of their own children, they would say narcissist. They would say like cult leader, and I look a little bit like a cult leader, but that's just my fashion style. I can also dress up in a suit. I like to change styles. That's my character, but. I think it's very worrisome what they do in the documentary. One is even sending sort of a death threat, like if this was true, I'm going to kill him. Like they're talking about the biological father of the children. And I learned, and I've been working with children my whole life as a teacher and also Boy Scout and was a youth pastor. And I know that as an adult, you never should argue in front of the children. Especially not saying anything negative about 50% of the DNA of your own child. Because the child has to make its own decision, has the right to get the parents, unless it's of course like a extreme criminal, but then it's all obvious that, but this is what I found so disturbing. Like they throw out all these things and they have he's addicted to donating, and he's like, why are you saying this? Don't you have any concern for your own children? I mean, am I more worried about their children than themselves? Yeah, it's.
Well, at one point, Kate and Laura, they contacted Eve Wiley. Who is a fertility activist. Eve Wiley is actually a victim of fertility fraud herself. Eve's parents went to a fertility doctor and they had a sperm donor, and she established a relationship with the man who she thought was her father, only to find out that the doctor was actually impregnating all these women using his own sperm. So she found out after the fact that this is not really her real father. So this became like a lifelong pursuit. And they went to her, who then connected them to the New York Times. So now this whole investigation will start. Have you ever been in contact with Eve Wiley yourself?
No, not at all. No, but I knew of her that she was like the mastermind of the documentary.
Right. And it definitely feels like when putting this documentary together, if you have someone like a Eve Wiley who feels very strongly about this, she's going to put her opinion in it without really offering differences of opinion. So I just want to point that out. During my research, I'm like, okay, Eve Wiley, who's in the documentary, who's a victim of this, so obviously he's very angry that this happened.
Yeah.
The documentary that's going to come out at some point. In the future.
Yeah.
This is, of course, early on. And as they're sort of kind of researching all this, they saw that you were going to Copenhagen once a month for 4 days for 4 years, and they felt that you had about 200 donations. So potentially, they're saying with all these donations that you could have like 3,000 children.
No.
Which was mind-blowing.
Yeah, and they just got it like out of there. I can be very clear. First of all, I want to say something about Eve Wiley. What happened to her parents is, of course, horrendous and disgusting. With that, I totally agree with her. But I think now she is like expanding this or like projecting this onto donors. Maybe she feels like extreme negative towards like anything donor or donor conceived related or doctors, and she's like projecting now onto me like I'm also like super irresponsible and not careful, and that's really a bad thing, because I think that she and also the foundation donor child in the Netherlands, they're from a whole different group. They're like from anonymous donors that have, they have no information about their father. So they have like a sort of trauma, and they project it now on me. And they go in an extent that's really troublesome, it might be. You can, of course, be an activist like, okay, we have to stop anonymous donors because I suffered from anonymous this fact. But now I'm a known donor plus, so I did my best. And my intentions were to be the best donor for the children and the recipients, meaning to be as open as possible, to be as human as possible, to have to never make the child feel rejected, because that's the worst thing that the child can feel, like rejected by one of the parents. So now going back to the Copenhagen story, I was once a month, 4 days in a row. But there was, after maybe 1.5 years, there was a block on my account, because like 2 recipients, they found out that of the children had a clot, yeah, and the other had like a clump feet. And the cryos is quite, they take it very serious. Like they directly blocked me. I couldn't visit to donate. This is all documented. It's not like these 2 Australians can confirm, because they know this.
Right, and the birth defects are not because you were related.
No,
to the mothers. Things just happen.
They have to.
You have a certain number of kids. Some of them will have birth defects.
Well, I must say, the private donations, I don't have these birth defects. So I assume that has to do with the freezing process, that there can be something like damage to DNA. It's a risk, of course. And they did an investigation, and it wouldn't. They confirmed it was not related to me, which I knew because I had already like 400 healthy children by private donation. So I could know. But then there was like this block, like 1.5 years on my account. So of the 4 years, there were like 1.5 or maybe 2 years that I would not donate. And then when they opened my account to donate, I could donate again. Then they got an email. So they really have to scale the period to this. And I think that Eve Wiley is unnecessarily stirring things up. I think this is very irresponsible, because she has no information about my situation. I made a video blog about this. It's called 550. I explain in detail, again, this story about cryos and that I was blocked for a long time. I would also tell cryos to exclude the Netherlands from shipping, because they would ask, well, do you want to donate everywhere? And I said, well, don't ship to the Netherlands. And so because I had already like a quite large number in the Netherlands. So yeah, this 3,000 is ridiculous.
So you don't have 3,000 children?
No, that's 1,000 could be if they would have extreme success with the sperm, which is already doubtable because it's a low quality. Most of the times they failed in attempts, but 1,000 would not still be impossible. But okay, 700, 800 would be possible. But I say 550.
Okay, because cryos actually denied that you could have 3,000 children.
Yeah,
through them.
Yeah.
But you said you had 400 by private donation.
Yeah.
But if you count all the sperm banks, couldn't that be it?
No, wait.
2,000?
No. Because the sperm banks was already like the 102. You remember earlier you said 102. So this is 102. And then I had like 450 private. That makes like 550 total. And then there's like a portion that I don't know, and that's cryos. So then you have maybe 50 or let's say 100. So you had like 650. That's more like the number, not 1,000. That's in my calculation. It could be when every attempt would be a success.
Okay, so between 650 and 1,000 children would be your estimate.
550
to
650. That's more, in my opinion,
Okay.
like the.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, Joyce and John spoke to you, and you told them that you have a document that lists all your children, but you wouldn't actually share it with them, that you keep it in a backpack or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they think it's in a backpack, but I have it stored in a safe, like a notary, you know, like somebody protects it. It's not in my house. It's not nowhere. It's like...
So you have the actual list?
Yeah.
And on that list are 550 names?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because at one point, you know, they started to actually expose some of this. But Dutch law prohibited the media from showing your name or your image.
Yeah.
So the story came out, but your name is not out there. But then Eve Wiley connected Kate and Laura to the New York Times. And this started this whole kind of story, which ultimately made the front page of the New York Times. Now, before that, they were saying that a lot of the parents were trying to kind of meet up with you, to try to kind of confront you with this before going to the media, but they said that you wouldn't meet up with them because you were traveling, you just didn't want to do it. Is that accurate?
I stopped donating for new recipients. So this is very important for people to understand. New recipients in 2019. And I told them every time I already stopped, and with new recipients, and I would help the existing families. So for me, like, why would I meet up? This is my word. You know, it's a sign that I was like, you know, I have nothing to hide. I stopped. And they would not, we don't believe it, and this and that. And they would find like an old website where I would like still have like a advertisement or something. And they would think that I would be extremely, how do you say? Like busy with, I was really done in 2019 with donating for new people. I really wanted to change my life. And like I say, I also, they admit in the documentary where they would say, we couldn't find any evidence for Jonathan actively donating, but we felt that he would. So they have no evidence. So I said to a friend, I say like, oh, with this kind of thinking, I would feel that there's $1 million I don't have $1 million in the bank, but I feel that there is $1 million. So I will collect it later. You know, I just a feeling.
Yes.
But they would like create this sting operation, like undercover agent sort of, to show that I was still donating. But they make it like in the court case, like it's very urgent. He is donating like a madman. He's
and I like. And we'll get to that part. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
No. I got all that.
Yeah.
Well, the New York Times article comes out, front page, and at that point, your name and picture is exposed. And the New York Times is a major international publication. When that article came out, how did you feel and what was the reaction?
I felt betrayed by Vanessa because she's in the main article. And I thought like, well, this is something, you know, she knew about the number. She would say to me, I don't mind the number. I want my second baby. And she got the second baby. And I've evidence like in chats where she would say also like, after I have my second baby, because the other moms will send me, they would say, look what she's saying. She said, after I have my second baby, I would stop him because I don't want any other women to have his, something like sounded like super jealous. So I was like, and then secondly, I was like thinking, I've never donated in the United States. Why is this like I love America. Look, I like, no disrespect, but it's like, you know, why are these Americans like, what's their business in the Netherlands? Why is not a Dutch paper like, you know? But I wasn't really like. I mean, I can handle it. I know that my intentions were always real and honest and you know, with good intentions. So of course it was not. Yeah, I felt betrayed in a way, and. Yeah, it's not something that you were happy about, but what can you do? It's
well, yeah, because a lot of the readers weren't very sympathetic to the women. They were like, why are you upset? You got what you wanted, and now because you weren't as special as you thought you were one of 20, and instead you're one of 500, but you still got what you wanted. Why are you so upset? You knew what was coming into this. And That probably made the women even more mad about the situation. And then a whistleblower turned up. They claimed that you weren't acting alone. You were working with another Dutch donor to deceive women. They say that there was another website that was run by Leon, and that you and Leon would mix sperm together to give to the women as a game of sorts. And, for example, Joyce and John, they freaked out. They did a DNA test to find out that you were actually the father. To me, this is a little interesting because it's like, what difference does it really make? Just because you have blonde hair and blue eyes and he doesn't, it's still a donor. What makes us say that their kids might be homicidal maniacs that come from you and they might be nice people that come from him? It just shows how just surface area people are. All these women came to you because you had blonde hair and blue eyes and long curly hair. That was it. They didn't know you. It's just a very physical thing. And they didn't go with this guy because maybe physically they weren't attracted to him. But this is a very serious accusation. You're sitting there and playing Russian roulette with sperm, essentially. Is there any truth in this?
Absolutely not. No. It's very important because it's one of the things for me personally that was like the number one that I was directly furious about. I can see there's some line in the documentary where I can see like, yeah, I got, in a way I went over my head with the donating. I see myself like, I also reflected at that time, like, okay, do I really have to go to cryos? Isn't this like, now you're extending your help? So I can see like there's certain that I can agree on in the documentary. So yeah, okay, this was not my strongest part. I had to like limit myself more, or get the grip more on my helping. But like this mixing story, it's like you cannot believe it as well, because I released a video the same day or the next day the documentary comes out. This lady that's saying the accusation, Patricia. She would go on a live stream the day the documentary is out. And somehow I have like a sort of earth angel, like friend. She would always like tip me things and always be like, I'm like, wow, okay. And she will put me in the live stream with Patricia. And Patricia's like astonished. She's like shocked because she was like talking bad about me. Like I'm a God complex and I'm a cult leader. And I like all these narcissists and he's this and that. And she had some bad feelings because I rejected her as a donor in like 40 years ago. And then she went on with Leon for 12 years long until he died. So she was...
Oh, Leon passed away.
Leon passed away.
Okay.
They didn't include this as well in the documentary.
It's I had no idea. Yeah, I was wondering why they didn't interview Leon.
And Leon was her donor until he died. He paid maybe 20,000 euros for her to do some kind of treatment. So...
Wait, he paid her?
Yeah, he would help her. He was like sort of like with money he will pay for the treatment.
Interesting, because Leon was painted as a villain in the documentary.
He was like a puppy dog. He was. If you ask the recipients that had Leon as a donor, they will all say, "Come on, he was like, he looked frightening." I also the first time I saw him, I was, "Whoa, man, this is really like a Neanderthal or something," But he would sit and he would like make jokes, have funny stories. It would be like this. But back to the story. Like Patricia would say on live stream, she would admit that there was no evidence. And then she would say, oh, it was Paul, another donor that told the story. And it was not Leon. The next day, she goes again in the live stream. And then she will say like, no, Leon told me he did it only when women were not paying his gas or were not updating him for the you can see like, it's a mess. This is like one of the worst lies in the documentary. Like,
well, yeah, especially since there's no proof behind it.
No.
To say that you're purposely deceiving women with someone else's offspring, someone else's sperm, that's a pretty damaging accusation.
And they made
Makes
it.
you look like a monster, basically.
Yeah, and if you are, I watched it again like a few times, and then I would see, because I made a whole video about it, and then I would listen what they say. And Patricia would say, Leon told me that he and other donors, they wouldn't mention my name. So, but then you see the next shot, and this is the power of video. You see a guy with long hair making
Right. Right. And since Leon is dead, he can't come forward and say, I never said that.
No.
It's just my word against a dead person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Leon was like a joker. He probably made like a joke, like sometimes like, he would always be like making like silly jokes. It's really horrible that they put this in. That Netflix shouldn't put this in. This is one of the worst of the documentary.
So then this lawyer goes and actually files a complaint in the court system. So now you're being served with a legal case in the court. How did you feel when you found out that you now have to go to court over this?
I was thinking, first of all, some women really go in. I explained to you like how women are controlling donors. Like if you say like, I'll help 10 families, they will like start to, no, I want you to limit to 5. Or if you say, I help in this city, and there's certain, like in some of the women, there's sort of like a jealousy or like like they want to have it, it's my exclusivity. And I was thinking like, this is the extent they will go to. They will go into, it doesn't matter, a Netflix documentary, maybe something else. They will not stop until they get some sort of revenge. Like, I want it to be exclusive, and it's not. I'm gonna like get back at you. Like, I'm going to punish you in some way. That was the first. And secondly, I was thinking, well, this foundation, they have like a philanthropical agenda. They are here to, it was my estimation, to like stand up for the rights of donor children and for recipients and donors. That was my understanding. But they have never, ever invited me for a mediation. Like, hey, we have some concerned women here. They contacted you before, and you would say that you will not be interested in a meeting because you said you already stopped in donating. So, okay. But they will never, like, first, like, hey, look, we have this. Can we, like, intermediate between you? No, they were, like, the ones that were pushed for the court case. And I got like, it wasn't on my phone, like an app, like plop, and it was like from this lawyer, and like, you have 2 weeks time to respond to this. We want this, and like, what is wrong? What's going on? And the third thing that I was thinking was like, this is something that Netflix has helped organizing.
Oh, because the Netflix documentary was already underway?
In January, I had a meeting with George Allott, I think his name. He invited me to have a conversation, and he would tell that he would start the Netflix document. Or like, he would be very vague first, like we want to do an informative, worldwide, like super vague. And I say, well, maybe I can help. And then he said on the meeting, it will be Netflix, 3-part about you. And then I say, I'm not going to do that. Netflix is very sensational, and my donor children will suffer from this.
Okay.
And they do. I get now phone calls from mothers, from Leon, from my recipients, and they are like flooding to me, like, this is insane. But back to
the court case.
Oh yeah, the court case. So I think that this was like the first try. Okay, if he's in with us, we don't need a court case. This is my estimation. I have no evidence of this.
So you think that Netflix pushed some of these women to do a court case in order to create a more exciting documentary?
Absolutely.
Aha.
Because John and Joyce and Nicolette, I was on very good terms with them. Suddenly, when I heard about the Netflix documentary, they changed. They started to call me narcissist, egoist, liar, especially John and Joyce. I was like, where is this coming from? And I think that Netflix needed the court case to be able to make a documentary, because you have
To do the ending, yeah.
yeah, I think that in the United States you need like at least some news or some event to. But it's my estimation. I have no evidence, but this is my opinion.
Okay, so you get served this paperwork and you have an upcoming trial. But leading up to the trial, according to the documentary, a lot of the women are concerned that you're still donating sperm. And one of the women who actually used you as a sperm donor pretended to be a new woman, a potential client. She went and got a new SIM card, placed in one of her old phones, created a fake Instagram account, and she started to correspond with you, and you became kind of flirty with her. And in the process, you agreed to be a sperm donor to her. This was before the trial. And they used screenshots from this exchange to speed up the trial. What do you say about this?
Look, I have dealt with recipients, with women, day in, day out for 17 years. So I can clearly sense when I get a fake request. Meaning that I had from the start, I understood that this was not a real recipient. Trying to like get some information, or, I was just going along with it. And she will be like, she asked me like, hey, I'm looking for a donor. And I had, for myself, I said I stopped donating new recipients unless somehow, some way, somebody knows about the number and is okay with it. So like a handful of people over this 5 year would have contacted me, and with some I would say, okay, I'll help you. But it was really like a handful, was really not concerning or like the amounts that I helped before. So there was no urgency at all. But I was understanding that this was a fake account, because like I say, 17 years, day in, day out, I know how recipients write. They wouldn't write like this. And then I would explicitly tell her like what I thought about the Netflix documentary, because I wanted to sort of like give my opinion, and just for the other women that were taking part, that they were getting into. I say, I think they're not smart into participating in the documentary. It's very harmful for the children. She started then suddenly, because I wasn't responding to her, she sent me like a college girl picture. I'm totally not into that kind of girls. So they didn't really do a real good like research what I really like in a woman. And then she started to, it was really like a catfish operation. She started to say like, oh, I'm a lingerie photographer, and then I like to like so cheesy, And I was like being polite, because if you're like, oh, I was like, okay, nice. And then I stopped, and I had like two times they tried it. They show like a picture of her in underwear or something. I was like politely responding, oh, that's nice behind, and like.
Right. Well, they use these screenshots, and Donor Kind Foundation filed a civil lawsuit against you. You got served a subpoena. But the court date got delayed because you were traveling in Kenya.
Yeah.
Now, some of the mothers discovered a Facebook group in Kenya. So there's this Kenyan clinic that basically was looking for European donors for 2-week trips. They would fly them out, pay for the hotel, the flights, the meals, everything else like that. And the donors had to provide 6 collections. And there was a Facebook group around this. And there was a guy on there called the Lion of Mombasa. Now, you said in some of your videos that the lion is your favorite animal. I mean, you have hair kind of like a lion and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So certain people, and this is where it gets a little vague in the documentary, certain people said that you're the Lion of Mombasa. Other people said you're not the Lion of Mombasa. Are you the Lion of Mombasa?
No, I've never been to Mombasa. I have never donated in the clinic. I found out, I watched the documentary, and I was looking like, okay, this is clearly going on there. I was seriously I went to Kenya because I wanted to avoid the winter depression, like the bad weather, to say. I'm not depressed, but I wanted to be in the sun. And Kenya and Tanzania, I was familiar with Kenya because I've been there before. I've been to Uganda. And it's on the same time zone. So it is a perfect location if you want to avoid the winter. It's not expensive. You're close. You have the beach. But I didn't go to Mombasa. I had a few days in Kenya, and then I went to Tanzania, and I stayed the holiday in Tanzania. You can see the videos that I made are only in Tanzania. They're not made in Kenya. So I didn't know that there was a clinic like that. You can ask the clinic. Go ahead, call them, ask for CCTV footage, anything. I haven't been there.
You weren't there. Yeah.
They would also. I think the groups and the lion is created after the news that I was in Kenya, because these other donors, there are like a few donors. Some of them I've known because Kyle, for example, he's on many of these shows, and I've heard about Joe Donor. But this Anthony, I don't know. He's a horrible person.
Well, yeah, because there was like emails that got released where some of the donors saying they want to bleach Africa, and it was almost like a very racist sort of thing that they were trying to sort of push that they were connecting you to.
Yeah, of course. I knew if it was Netflix, it will be like there will be like something like this, like in the documentary, because that's entertainment media. There has to be like the race conflict, and even though like this Anthony said something like that, with I have nothing in common, and I distance myself from this guy like Mars from Jupiter. But people think that I said it because that's how media work. They're watching one eye TikTok, the other eye the documentary, because people cannot focus 3 hours on the documentary. And somehow I am linked to this, and it's horrible because I love Africa.
And you have biracial children.
I have 10% of my children are biracial, and I have no.
So you have over 60 kids that are biracial?
Yeah, something like this. Yeah. Like Asian, Muslim children, Hindu.
But ultimately, you do come back to the Netherlands, and you have to go to court. Did you ever consider just saying, I'm just not going to come back to this country and just go live abroad somewhere else and not have to deal with this?
Oh, no. Because I seriously think that it's very unfair. And I doubt if if you would like push it up higher in the legal system, if it's possible to seriously do this. In my opinion, it would lead like certain fertility rights that like almost basic rights that are like damaged. But to me, it was not that. It was important to defend myself because I seriously believe that I have good intentions. That I'm a very good donor. Give to many people like a very high quality of service to them, like a known donor. No costs, low costs, always available. So I had to defend myself. Like this is, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I'll go with you. But
okay, so the trial starts. You have a lawyer, and this was, like I said, a very weird court case because it's never been done before. It's a court case about reproductive rights and the ability for people to reproduce. And a lot of people were paying attention to this trial. It got international attention. In court, you admitted to having nearly 600 children. 50 different families submitted statements. I should assume that most of these statements were negative?
Well, I got all the statements. I don't know if they... This is like unclear to me. I got like 15 letters, like, and 3 of the families already later regret and said to me, "Sorry, we were like pushed by other families to do this." So, yeah.
Okay, because what you said in court is this is an entirely new concept, and it's up to us as adults to shape it.
I made a mistake there. I meant to say phenomenon, but I said concept. It was, in an emotional moment. But if you said it's a new phenomenon, it's right.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, and...
Yeah, I mean, sperm donation, when was it invented? Like in the 50s or something?
I think that, by that time it was...
Right,
like
so this is about 70 years relatively new when it comes to human society as a whole, which has been around for, 100,000 years. So this trial was going. At the end, 2 weeks after the trial began, the judge ruled you're forbidden from donating to new parents anywhere in the world, and that each violation will result in a 100,000 euro fine, which is about $109,000 US. When you found out about the guilty verdict, what did you think?
Yeah, the lawyer called me, and it was like, it's very unfair. Because, like I say, I've been like providing, like this is my belief, and people can of course disagree with me. And I know that people watching that they will think maybe differently, but in my opinion, I really provided very good service to these families. Took my role as a donor very serious. Like I calculated, like I maybe spent 50,000 hours of my life in traveling to recipients, helping them, meeting with them, even like throwing a lot of money into meeting them, or traveling to Denmark, or so. I have this is not really. It felt like very mean, and yeah, it was a breaking point for me. Like this is not right. This, I will defend myself. I will speak out about what it is to be a known donor, the reality of it, like, the reality that there is a extreme shortage of donors. People can judge me. I get all these hateful messages, but I'm thinking, well, you weren't there in the clinic. I didn't see you. When I was walking in the rain, 11 in the night, from helping a recipient, I saw all these men laying on the couch, like gaming or having a beer or sleeping. And I was strutting through the rain, like to get the last train. And so sometimes I'm not really touched by this, by what they say, because I know that my intentions were really good and I put in effort. I was not just like making it at home and like throwing out like here, and see you. I was really putting in a lot of effort and also my soul into helping these people. It's really like for me, they're sort of like family. So I was really hurt that that were like, I saw like Joyce was like, one of the moms, Sammy, she had like a cake. She was celebrating like,
no, all the women in this documentary were all celebrating the verdict and happy. Some were crying and so forth, and they felt they had this giant victory. I guess what my question is, when I first heard it was, based on the ruling, you're forbidden to donating to new parents anywhere in the world, but Dutch law doesn't apply internationally.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It might be illegal to, like, for example, I mean, this is a strange example, but I remember when I was in Brazil, I passed by like an adult, video store, and they had bestiality videos, on the window. And I was like, whoa, but I guess in Brazil it's legal.
Yeah.
But America, it's illegal. But different places have different, not that I'm for bestiality, I'm not. But I'm just saying that you can't apply a law, in another country just because something happened in one country. So for them to say that just seemed just really almost ridiculous. They can't stop you from donating anywhere from in other countries, right?
Yeah, well, I asked this my lawyer, and let me 100% clear. I respect the verdict because I wasn't donating to new recipients any longer. The only that would prohibit would be like this one case a year that would write me by Instagram like, hey, I saw that you're a donor, we're looking for a donor. So I respect the verdict in that regard. But if you would ask me, like, if it's, and maybe I will, we're now focusing on the Netflix documentary, but also part of the Netflix documentary was the court case. So if we have a case, then we would also look at, is it even legal what they do? And exactly what you say. It's like, For example, the Netherlands claims to have this 25 guidelines, but in the United States it's 25 per 800,000 children. So you
So
will
it's way more than that. Yeah,
you
exactly.
get 10,000 children per donor in the United States, and
10,000 per donor, right?
Yes, seriously. If you 350 million in the
So
United
you still have
States.
9,000 to go here if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to go crazy.
I'm like amateur, It's like you're the guys here to.
Okay, so based on the court ruling, you're not allowed to be a donor, but if you were to meet a girlfriend and you guys had intercourse and she got pregnant, that's completely legal. You wouldn't be fined 100,000 euros for getting your girlfriend pregnant.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Good. Okay. And then the Netflix documentary just comes out this year. 3-part series called The Man with 1,000 Kids. You refuse to be part of this documentary. Now, from my point of view, you have Netflix, essentially the biggest film company on earth. They make billions and billions of dollars. They have the most viewers of any production company in the world. They know this is going to be a number one, trending film when it comes out. Clearly, with your participation, it would be way more exciting. Were you offered money to be in this documentary?
No, they haven't, because I declined the very first conversation.
Huh.
I immediately said, look, I'm not going to participate. This is harmful for the children. This will create sensation, unnecessary sensation. And I stand for the emancipation of donor children and the recipients. And I think this is hindering their emancipation. This is like very bad for the donor children. And so I don't know what they would have offered, but no money could have make me part of that movie.
Really? So they offered you $1 million?
I declined. Definitely. My donor children you cannot express the value they have. And the recipients, they are like my family. I can never betray them in that way.
Well, and to be fair, when I first started to communicate with you, you brought up the idea, you said, is there an appearance fee? And I said, well, we could discuss it. And then, I told you, I'm Vlad TV. Here's my YouTube channel. You went and did your own research. You spoke to someone, I guess, who was a fan of the channel. You came back and said, okay, I checked you out. You're legit. I will come and do this for free. Just pay for my travel, my hotel. Give me $200 for food. That's your entire payment.
Yeah.
You refuse to take any money for this when, honestly, I was open to paying you.
How much?
I don't know. Guess we would have worked it out.
I don't have to know.
And even at the airport, like we said in the beginning, you got stopped at customs and they didn't believe that you were coming here to do a Vlad TV interview because they knew about Vlad TV without payment. So you really are putting your money where your mouth is, that you actually are not trying to make money off your children and try to cash out on this. When the documentary came out, and it's a big documentary, everyone I know has either seen it or knows about it. What was the effect?
On my life? Or?
Yeah, because a New York Times article is one thing, but let's keep it clear, most people don't read like that.
No.
But Netflix is a whole different circus.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I watched it. And I've skipped through a lot of parts, so I didn't watch it like minute for minute. And I was just, this is what I expected will be. And I thought, I'm so happy that I didn't sign anything or agreed anything. I can now talk freely about it on my YouTube channel. I can explain the reality and also debunk things and the effects. Yeah, I live without media, so I didn't know about Vlad TV, and I checked it out. And I saw okay, there's really cool interviews, and I'm a subscriber now.
Thank you.
But I'm very selective with what I watch. I don't watch I don't have a television home for maybe 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
So I hear from people like, hey, there's something with Russia and Ukraine, and then I read. Okay, I'm up to date. I don't have papers, no radio. I don't follow news on my phone, so and I live in nature, so I have my quiet life, and then I open my YouTube, and then it's like, vroom. It's like,
it's definitely vroom. Yeah, it's definitely that. Okay. Do you feel that the effect was ultimately positive or negative overall?
in the first place, of course, very negative, especially the harmful things said about my family, that they will lack in anything. That was to me like how, like there's an instinct in you. You want to protect your family, So that is why I really took the time here to tell that's not the case. And of course the lies, like the sperm mixing and this Africa story and some other lies. Yeah, I was furious and upset about that, like the blatant lies. Then I was very concerned about the recipients and the donor children, because they were never asked to be part of the documentary. And I'm shocked that Netflix, look, if they would like have the court case, give me a slap on the back of my head, me and somebody else, okay, do it behind closed doors. But they make it now like the lives of hundreds of children and families, they're really, like damaged. I get every day there's recipients calling me like, we have to do something. This is so bad for our children, and we might not always agree with maybe the amount of children or whatever, but you are a donor. We love you, and we want our children to be good, and they're now damaged because they're in school. They were open that their donor conceived, and like children start to like ask them, is it your father? And he's like, oh, is he like this cult leader? And and is he trying to send you messages through YouTube? That's what they would say. So it really, in fact, but I think that sometimes bad things can make the world. Yeah, it sounds weird, but it can also produce something greater. And I think that now. There's a door open to fight for emancipation of donor children and recipients.
You've said that you're going to sue Netflix.
Yeah, we'll make, and it's not, like I said, it's not so much about me. Like these few lies,
the mixing of the sperm and stuff.
Yeah, mixing with the sperm and the clinic, and calling me a narcissist and all these, and some like a sort of death threat, like I wanted to kill him and all these things. But I really want to do it like broader, like we unite and we fight for privacy rights of the children. But you told already about the collecting of data of the donor children. Like now there's a foundation that is keeping track of the donor children. Like they're not like allowed to do that in our perspective. And they were like exchanging that with somebody in the United States, and it's going to Netflix, and what's going on? And also the privacy of a donor. The parents agreed to never share my identity. So somehow, okay, that got destroyed. It's like, okay, here, and not in a small way. Like, we make a whole Netflix documentary about it. So we're like bundling it in one big case, and people are joining, and recipients can join if they want to join. Send me a message.
Then class action lawsuit.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
When a bunch of people are suing the same thing. Yeah. They get one law firm to basically handle it. Yeah, I hope you win.
Yeah, thanks.
I hope you win, because like I said, this seemed like a hit piece.
Yeah.
This seemed like something that was going to be designed to destroy you. At no point was there anyone in that documentary saying anything positive about you at all. It was all negative, negative, negative. He's a monster. He's a narcissist. He has God complex. He lied to us. He deceived us. Even though some of these women would come back for second children and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that it works out for you. Because when I watched it, I wasn't a big fan of it, honestly.
It's good. Yeah, thanks.
Well, I actually looked up the men who had the most children throughout history.
Oh.
I don't know. Have you ever done this yourself?
Is it like Kazan Khan or something?
Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Genghis Khan seems to be at the top of the list. He is rumored to have fathered between 1,000 and 3,000 children. He had an enormous harem, and then remember, he was sort of conquering large parts of the world, so wherever he went, he would add to his harem and so forth. Now, according to a 2003 study published in the American Journal of Human Genetics, 16 million people today are descendants of Genghis Khan, which is the equivalent of 1 in 200 people worldwide are actually related to him. This is the widespread effects of having a lot of children. Number 2 is the former monarch of Morocco, Moulay Ismail ibn Sharif. He has between 900 and 1,200 children. He had a harem of 500 women. He fathered 525 boys and 342 girls. Next on that list is Bertold Paul Weisner, who had over 900 kids. This was a scientist who actually was using his own sperm. And he started around 1942 or possibly earlier to 1967 and would basically switch his sperm for mothers who needed, help in conceiving children. Next is Simon Watson, who has over 800 kids. He's a British sperm donor. He made headlines in 2016 where he claimed that he has sired over 800 children. He regularly posts updates. In 2018, he posted DNA tests, which matched him to 40 kids. And he made headlines in 2019 when he got 13 women pregnant in 26 days. Then there is Paul Eldon Kingston, who has up to 300 children. He is the leader of the Latter-day Church of Christ in Utah, where they're polygamists.
Oh, yeah.
He has 40 wives.
Wow.
He's still alive, by the way.
Okay. That's you say it like it's impossible.
40 wives. And then there's others. So you are really near the top somewhere. I mean, when you think about it, if you have 1,000 children and in the future, you could have a number like 1 in 200 human beings on Earth could potentially be related to you. Does that make you feel good, bad, or indifferent?
Yeah, I as a donor, you look for me. People ask me about the number and the things, and for me, I see. First of all, I grew over the years. So of course, the first donor child was of course a beginning moment, and then more children are coming, and the number grows with you day by day. And eventually it loses its meaning, because for me it's not about a number. It's about families and children and new souls. So this might sound a little bit like vague or anything, but this is honest my feeling. Like people ask me like, how do you feel when you have so many children? I say, look, I basically live the same life as before, and I have no feeling that they think like maybe you have like these, in a game you have like 3 green blocks and I reach like the 10 blocks, I'm like somehow I won or something. But it's I can say it doesn't change the brain in that way. I don't feel better than anybody else or than any man or etc. I do feel very blessed. And that is something I am very thankful for. That I have so many family in a sort of way. It's hard to say, but let's call it for that they are sort of my family, and I'm blessed with every moment that I can share with them, and that I can be there for them. And I mean that honestly. That is for me like. That is a reward, and but it's not something that's something inside you, very small, and but it's interesting to see. I have no idea how it will be in 100 years.
Well, you're 43 years old, and you have close to 1,000 children. But you've never actually had a child with a woman and helped raise that child yourself. Lived in the same home, changed his diapers.
I did, but
you did.
But was not very long. And for privacy reasons, I will not give more details. But you can ask me questions about how it was for me to be like 24/7 with children.
Okay,
like my own children.
How long were you with that child?
It was for about half a year.
6 months.
Yeah.
That's not very long. The child's probably not speaking, definitely not walking.
No.
You didn't hear the child say Papa or Dada. You didn't see it take its first steps. I mean, you are missing out on a very beautiful human part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And, you know, that child will have a lot of siblings.
Yeah.
You know? But I guess, why not? I mean, you're still relatively young. You could have a child right now. Why not?
Well, a very good question, and I really appreciate it, because when I was I started to change in 2017, 2018. I started to wanting to live more in nature, leave more the materialistic world, focus more on having animals and like homesteading, you know. And I started to change. And then in 2000, and I started also to see that as a donor, I was constantly on traveling around. Like, people are like, oh, he was traveling to all these places. Yeah, but it's also like a big stress to be in flights the whole time. Change the time zones, sleep in an airport on the floor because you have like overlap or something. And it's the bright side always has its dark side. And I was thinking, look, I'm getting older and I have this dream. I look at my parents as my example.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not like you don't understand what a traditional family is. You grew up in one, and you've said nothing but positive things about growing up in that family, and yet you haven't experienced it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that this is like the way where I should have. I hit the brake and I started to slow down. And in 2019, I got a relationship with a girl. She was starting out as a recipient first, and I met her the first time, and she had like this aura around her, like lights. She was like an angel to me, and I was like in love, bomb. Like, and we met to meet for like a donor arrangement. Like, I would help her as a donor. But we found out that there was like a chemistry, and she was also like into living more off-grid. She had her own like off-grid house, and I was in love, but I wasn't really ready to stop with my donor activities. And I think that at that certain point, the relationship wasn't like progressing. And then I realized that I believe in God, so I believe that there was like a message like. You know, you have to choose now. You are waiting this for a few years. You know what you want, because that's that family, traditional family, loving family, to be a father, real father.
Yeah.
Then she broke up with me. Huh. And I had the worst years of my life, like 1.5 years. The whole Netflix court case combined, everything, that pain that I felt in that time, because I was seeing her. I see every girl that I get in a relationship with as a future wife. I never go into random dating or casual dating. I always go for somebody that I'm like, this will be the girl of my wife. So when she broke up with me, for different reasons, I was devastated. And I immediately, what I did was I went to my laptop and I removed all the donor groups that I had and all the advertisements I had. I say, I focus now on my own family dream.
Are your siblings married with kids?
Yeah, most are married with kids. Yeah.
Your parents are still alive?
Yeah.
What is their take of this whole thing?
We don't. I consciously separated them from everything because I want to have also my normal life. Because look, I know.
But they all know now. I mean, because of this,
they knew all.
They knew the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, but the Netflix thing obviously put a magnifying glass on it.
Yeah, especially the things that they said about my family and all the recipients that know me. I talk only about my family, like praise and how good they are. And I even. When I was with one recipient, she ran into my mom and she was like, your mom is the sweetest. And so it's really a bad thing. But yeah, they got confronted by it. And but like I say, we have our own family life, and it will not really be. There will be jokes sometimes, you know, like how do you call it, like a joke about it. But I would not share pictures of of tell a lot about it, because I said I have my donor life, and we have our life.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, in Iceland, which is a very small country, very isolated, they have an app where everyone can look up to see if they're related.
I heard that, yeah.
To someone they're potentially dating.
Yeah.
It's an app.
Yeah.
So if you're about to date your cousin or potentially your sister, you could just both of you could pull up the app and say, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So as technology progresses and as, because you're not the only one that's doing this, there's groups of men out there that are all doing this to different degrees, maybe not to your degree or maybe even more than your degree. Who knows? Apps like this may just become commonplace in the future. It's already being done in Iceland. What's to say it can't be done internationally? No one wants to have, kids with their sister. You know what I'm saying? So it is a thing. And you've also said that you're not a fan of Andrew Tate.
Well, I got linked to him because I somehow, every time people think that I'm some sort of macho or some sort of MGTOW or incel or all these. I get named everything, but I have nothing with. Also, not with Jordan Peterson. I have my own ideas, but
I don't get an Andrew Tate vibe from you.
That's. But I wanted to make look. Of course, he says some valuable thing. I mean,
just like everyone else.
Yeah, but I'm more like into traditional life, and he's not a traditional man, in a way. So,
well, final question. You were flown in last night. We have our interview here today. And tomorrow you have a free day. And then you fly out the day after that. While you're out here, there's a sperm bank about 12 miles from here. Do you plan on donating sperm in LA?
Absolutely not. First of all, I respect the verdict, and I stopped donating. So there's nothing in my mind that's thinking I want to donate more. But another good reason is Europeans cannot donate in the United States because of the Chernobyl accident.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I read that. So when you were born, between 81 or 79 and 95 or something, then you're excluded as a donor. That's
Yeah, I actually grew up not that far from Chernobyl, but we moved before the accident happened. I sometimes think whether I would have died.
I think you will go to the.
I should go there. I should donate. So you're totally done with donation.
Look, I donate for the existing families with the same love and.
So that's legal.
That's legal according to the case.
So families that you've already donated to, you could donate again to.
For siblings, yeah.
For siblings, but not to new families.
Exactly. So if one family, for example, wants 10 children and another one also 10 and another also 10, there will be 30 children more. But
so you could have another 1,000 children if you want, right?
If they all want.
If every family that you've donated to.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not counting multiples, but roughly you could probably have another 500 children if you wanted to.
Well, my number is 550. That's what I am 100%.
But it could be higher.
But there are 225 families because most families have one or two or three or four children. So let's say roughly they have.
What was the most number of children that you've given to a single family?
I think one family has 5.
5 kids.
Children. Yeah.
Those are all your kids.
Yeah.
Wow. What's the? That's interesting. So this family with 5 kids, is it a heterosexual couple or a lesbian couple?
Yeah, heterosexual couple.
Heterosexual couple. So the man just couldn't reproduce?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So the woman got pregnant 5 different times.
Yeah. It's one twin.
Oh, there's a twin.
Yeah.
So 4 times she got pregnant.
Yeah.
How many identical twins do you have?
Quite a few.
There's identical fraternal. So how many identical do you have?
No, identical, none. None.
Okay, but you have a lot of fraternals.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like brothers, sister, is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or just 2 brothers, 2 sisters who don't look alike. Identical means that the embryo split, so they look exactly alike.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much. We flew you halfway across the world to tell this story, and you've been very open, very honest. Like I said in the very beginning, when I watched this documentary, I felt it was a hit piece, and I felt that it was important to get your side of the story because you refused to be part of this documentary, so we only got the side of the women who were upset at you. And I felt as a man that it's necessary to get your side of the story. And after nearly 3 hours, I think that we got a good idea. You've been very honest, very open. You haven't denied anything, but you did point out the discrepancies that just were not true in that documentary. It does seem that there was a lot of parts that they would kind of overstep reality and create statistics that aren't exactly true. I remember I learned there's a phrase that's always stuck in my mind. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And statistics are the worst kind of lie.
Yeah.
Because they sound like the absolute truth.
Yeah.
But when they say you have 3,000 children, when they say that you were in Kenya making hundreds of children, and then you were going to all these other countries and hitting every sperm bank that you could and so forth, you cleared that up.
Yeah.
But it's not like you denied having hundreds and hundreds of children, but you just pointed out that those parts were wrong. So I appreciate you, coming in and clearing this up. And, ultimately, I think you did do a positive thing. There's hundreds and hundreds of families who would not have children if it wasn't for you. And I think you came into it with the right, with the right intention, and you didn't become rich off of it. But what was the most you've ever been paid?
Well, I must say the Germans and the French, they are more like, the Dutch are more like reserved with giving some money. But I think that actually one Dutch family, they gave me like 3,000 euros to go on a holiday. I went to Uganda, and they would.
That's still not that much money.
No, and they offered it was a gift. It was not like I was but for me it was like I was like this is if they want to express their appreciation, it was like sure I'm happy to accept it. But it's not like a lot.
Right, but it's not like you became a multimillionaire.
No,
by just giving sperm for the last.
Nobody can.
Couple decades.
Don't.
Nobody can.
No, don't make this the reason why you want to be a donor, guys.
Don't follow your footsteps if you're trying to become rich. Well, Jonathan, man, I appreciate you coming in. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. You were the first that I wanted to do the interview with because
I'm honored.
My Earth Angel, she said immediately, "This is a good guy. He is a good reporter, and you're new media." So I feel like the new media is more like balanced. They want to have the real story, and I can go here now back to the hotel feeling like this was I've been treated very fair. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and good luck with your show.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Peace.